Hello, everybody. It is me, your host, Mrs. K. Now, I have a question for all of you. How many of you have a phone mount on your bike for one of these guys? A cell phone. That is my question. So we'll get back to that question about the phones. I just really want to talk about distracted driving. The thing is even as riders, we all get distracted. One of the things about distracted driving is that you can get distracted just by your surroundings. Now, I'm talking about all this stuff as a newer rider, not as an experienced rider. So please take this information as that. It all has to do with me and being a newer rider. So one of the things that I do find that can be distracting is that you go and you pass a window and then you look at yourself because cool, reflection. So you see your reflection, then you get distracted and you have a chance of maybe hitting that car in front of you because you didn't notice that he slowed down all of a sudden for some reason. Or, for you guys out there, maybe a pretty girl. Visual distractions can be bad. They can take away your train of thought, your vision, even if it's just for a split second. It doesn't take much for you to get distracted and go, uh-oh. And the next thing you know, you caused an incident, or maybe unfortunately you leaned over your bike. No, not the bike. Anything but the bike. Please don't say the bike. No. And then, of course, you have other things. Like, you can see my gauge right there. My gauge is pretty normal. It's basic in the sense of it gives me my speed, it gives me my revs, and it tells me how much gas I have left, what time it is, and whether or not I'm in eco mode. At one point, I did want to have a gauge indicator. I got over it. In the sense of, I don't feel like I need it anymore to that same degree. Myself, I don't look down at my gauge as much as I used to. I know people that are more experienced, like Mr. K, barely glance down. I glance down still often, but not as often as I used to. But I know that they have bikes nowadays that have a bunch of different modes, a bunch of different things that you can do. And it can get overwhelming or confusing if you're new. And it only takes that 1 second for you to fiddle around trying to find the switch. I mean, I remember it took me forever just to do the signal indicator to say I want to go left or right. Imagine if you have all those modes now where you can change things up, or it's not as simple as it should be because, I want to play with sports mode. Oh, I want to be in comfort mode. Or, other distractions on there that may cause you some issues. Really, wow, that's colorful. See? Distraction. Right there. Prime example of distraction. But I think all of those things have times and places, and depending on your level of skill, how you can handle it. And I'm not saying that everybody can't handle the fact that, they have modes or they have buttons that they can press or anything fun like that. It's just, for me, it's more along the lines of, do you really need all those distractions? I don't know what this is. Oh, I just went into a roundabout. Okay. With a bunch of wet leaves. See? Distraction. These are things, though, I need to be aware of. It's like a pothole. If I see a pothole, I need to be aware of it. You're supposed to look where you want to go. So if I'm looking down at my gauge, am I looking at where I want to go? Well, kinda. Am I doing it well? No. By no means am I doing it well. Now, communicators are a great learning tool as well. I have a communicator. It also happens to record, but I have a communicator. It helped me figure out stuff with what I was doing wrong, because Mr. K was able to be in my ear and tell me stuff. Communicators also can play music, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on you, because not everybody can concentrate when there's other noises going on that aren't part of the road or aren't part of what they need to be. What do I mean by that? I mean, the things that you need to pay attention to. Maybe a siren, maybe a weird sound, maybe your chain is clinking for some reason, or your gear didn't go through the way it was supposed to. Those kind of things you need to be able to hear. You need to be able to hear the rev of your bike. With the communicators, you also get an opportunity to have your GPS spoken to you instead of glancing down at a GPS trying to figure out where you need to go. Most people I know are able to tone out the distractions, so the distractions don't bother them. That's not the case with everybody though, and especially when you're newer and you're learning stuff, you don't want to miss out on anything. I mean, the last thing you need is to hear a siren, not to hear a siren, because that happens. Let's be honest, nobody's perfect. Coming to my next point would be GPS. Now, why is GPS a distraction? Well, GPS isn't a distraction if it's only talking in your ear, necessarily. I mean, you still can get a direction telling you 300 meters, turn left. And maybe you're trying to pay attention to where that 300 meters is. Or you don't have it vocalizing to you, and now you are trying to pay attention by looking down at your GPS to see where you need to be. There's no issues caused with it. It's fine. If there's issues caused with it, well, yeah, it's not a good thing. But again, this is all dependent on everybody and how they deal with it. Having it connected to a mount on your bike can be a bad thing. And the reason I say that it can be a bad thing is because it can actually impede your view on some of the things that you need to see on your dash. It could cover up something that's important to you. I'm going to stop. And the reason I'm going to stop is because I feel like this last one is more important. The reason I think that it's more important is because I want to talk about the phone. Everybody has one nowadays. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has GPS on their smartphone. You can put it here, you can put it here, you can put it there. You can pretty much put it anywhere that you want. Why am I saying this is a bad thing? Isn't because I believe that having a phone is a bad thing. But the nice thing about having a communicator, as an example with GPS, is that you can leave your phone in your pocket while you are getting your directions, which is a good thing. But having it mounted here, maybe it's in the way of your keys. Maybe something happens and you need to be able to get to your keys fast and you can't. It's just stuff that I have seen. It's nothing that I can say I myself have done, because in BC, as a new novice, whatever you want to call it, rider or driver, I'm not allowed to use any handheld electronics. So because of that, I'm not allowed to legally have my phone mounted. But as you can see, my whole tank, there's nothing there, which means that I'm not impeding on anything. I'm not fumbling around with anything. There's no chance of it slipping off and falling, which again would be another distraction, because if your phone all of a sudden fell off of your mount, how are you going to feel about that? You're going to be distracted. You're going to be wondering, where did it go? And then you're going to be trying to find it, which means that you may be pulling off into an unsafe area. Should it always be faced up to you and glowing at you? Because anytime you get a notification, it's going to pop up on the screen. You're going to see it, and your eyes are going to go down to it. Now, I know that there is a lot of people out there that have round mounts and they don't have any problems with that. But the majority of those people are more experienced and they don't pay attention to the things that are flashing around them in front of them. As a newer rider, you're more likely to pay attention to anything that catches out of the corner of your eye on the bike. So, as an example, having my turn signal on, like you see right there, that little green, I don't know if it's going to capture on the camera because this is tinted. That can capture your eye, especially if it's still going. These are those kind of things that you have to be aware of. Going on the road, missing a little piece of wood that had a nail in it, and then your tire goes. Or missing a pothole, and then all of a sudden you do that boom, which is no fun. Everybody knows that. Unless that's what you're trying to do because you're trying to wake yourself up or something, then I guess it could be fun. All of these things is just a reminder for you guys to please be safe out there, whether you're riding, driving, or walking, and please make sure that you pay attention to your surroundings. With all that being said, please be safe out there. Don't forget to love, ride, and explore. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. And the little bell, because, you always guys want to see new stuff. So if you have that little bell hit, you're going to see new stuff. Until next time, bad roads. Have to pay attention to the bad roads.